Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about microorganisms in air and their importance, which is one of the topic in applied microbiology or environmental microbiology. As we know that air is not a medium for microorganisms. That is, it is under normal conditions, the air is not going to contain any nutrients and the moisture which is essential for the growth, maintenance and multiplication of microorganisms. So, the air could not be considered as their natural environment. And here, the air, that is, for example, the still air, the microorganisms tend to settle down quickly with their carriers, leaving the air fairly free from them. And the air above the warmer regions of the earth harbors greater number of microorganisms than that above cooler regions, provided adequate humidity is present. Inadequate ventilation of inhabited buildings is going to promote greater accumulation of these microbial number in the air space. The air of an uncrowded and not heavily industrialized mountain regions and oceans is considered pure and good for health as it is relatively free from microorganisms. The microorganisms, as I told you, are very much concentrated in the boundary layer of atmosphere and Earth, up to the height of 0.1 kilometer from the Earth's surface. The bioaerosols are the airborne particles of biological origin, and the aerosols means an aerosol represents a collection of particles in air that remain suspended for appreciable time period, and it is not indefinitely stable, and its particles measures less than 100 micrometers in diameter. And the human health hazards due to airborne microorganisms are mostly through aerosols. And the routine human activities like coughing, sneezing, talking, eating, etc., normally generate microbial aerosols. The study of life occurring in the air is going to be considered as aerobiology, and if it is going to deal with different aspects of microorganisms present in the atmosphere, then that is going to be defined as aeromicrobiology. Then what is meant by aeromicroflora? The microorganisms that are present in the air are going to be considered as aeromicroflora, and that means the microbial flora of air of a given place depends upon the vegetation as well as the human activity. I told you already in the introduction that uncrowded places are not going to have the much loaded of microorganisms. The reason is where you're having the less human activity. The aeromicrobiological studies are going to be classified into two conditions, that is intramural, that is indoor, extramural, that is outdoor. So each of these places contain an unique flora. That means the flora that is present indoor may be differ, and the flora that is present outdoor can also be differ from each other. So coming to the first one, that is intramural indoor flora. The places like godowns, warehouses, poultry sheds, cattle sheds, storehouses, hospitals, caves, etc. are going to be considered as indoors. And the aeroflora of storehouses mainly contains storage fungi involved in the spoilage of stored food materials. The hospital aeroflora is important in causing the nosocomial infections. Then moving to the aeromicroflora related to the outdoor, majorly in places like crops, fields, towns, cities, forests, grasslands, etc. The aeroflora of crop fields varies according to the type of crop and age, which mostly include philosporic microorganisms or the pathogenic fungal spores. The air of populated area generally contains cells or spores of Bacillus, Clostridium, ascospores of yeast, fragment of hyphae, conidia of Aspergillus penicillium, etc., and few more resistant non-spore forming bacteria such as Micrococcus, Corynebacterium, coliform bacteria, and some virus particles are also found in these outdoor areas. Okay, so these are the few microflora that we have to discuss in the what we call it as a flora of outdoor. Then moving to the aeromicroflora, microorganisms of air. So here I have just mentioned the specific type of microorganisms like frequently that occur in the atmosphere, or number one, dry fungal spores. Then fragments of hyphae constitute an important airborne microflora like Cladosporium, Alternaria, and Penicillium. Then bacterial example is Sarsaneria, then Serratia, then Streptococcus, Staphylococcus, and Pneumococcus, and even the spores of Actinomycetes. So these are the main microorganisms that are going to be present. For example, if we check the bacteria, these bacteria are going to be comprised a heterogeneous group varying in size from 0.3 to 10 to 15 micrometers, and they are going to be capable of withstanding prolonged desiccation. That means they can persist in air for longer periods. Such forms are going to be majorly saprophytics in nature, but sometimes we can also find throat and mouth inhabiting bacteria, exemplified like, as I told you, Streptococcus, Staphylococcus, and Pneumococcus, etc. in air. Without any active dispersal mechanism, the bacteria are carried in air via the mechanical disturbances of particulate matter and on clothing, surgical dressings, etc. The bacteria-laden minute droplets are continuously thrown into air by rain splashes, breakers of or what we call as sea sprays, sneezing, or coughing. And the indoor source of airborne bacteria are mainly the man and animals. Then if we are going to discuss about the fungal spores, these fungal spores are going to be the propagative phase of microfungi, and many of which are adapted to air transport. And their fall rate is going to be governed by Stokes law. So depending upon that law, they are going to identify how much spore liberation is going to be there in that specific area. The fragments of fungi, that is microfungi, constitute a significant population of air spora, and these are primarily the conidiophores of asexual forms, and these can be cultured, which are going to belonging to the Cladosporium, Alternaria, and the Penicillium. So this is a few note about these micro aeroflora that is present in the air. Then coming to the algal fragments, viruses, and other materials that are going to be present. The algal fragments, mainly the microalgae, example Chlamydomonas, Chlorochum, Gongresyra, Phromidium, Protococcus, diatoms, Pyrogyra, Oscillatoria, Chlorella, Amphora. So this is how we had a long list of algae, especially microalgae, which are going to have the fragment form, and these microalgae are going to be transporting through the air currents even in the absence of adaptation for takeoff into air. A regular constituent of airborne microflora comprises of algal cysts or other resting stages. And this microalgae in the range of about 1 to 90 micrometers are significantly in respiratory diseases as well as the allergies, as these are retained by the mucous membrane of the respiratory tract. Then moving to the viruses. So viruses are going to be of very few, and these are going to just transmit mainly the respiratory related viruses are going to be transmitted through the this air. So airborne diseases of virus, some of the viruses like influenza, all these things are going to be carried. Then moving to the protozoa, the cysts of protozoa are going to be mostly transmitted by the air. And the best examples here we are going to have all the cysts. So when protozoa are not in the cystic condition, they vary in shape from irregular, what we call it as a plasmodial, to rigid, flattened, or ovoid structure. And majorly, the cysts range from 2 to 5 micrometers in diameter, will be easily transported through the air. And along with all this, other materials of biological origin include the pollen, scales, and the wings of insects, hair, dry fragments of decomposing organic matter may also present in the air. And the physical particles that occur in the air is mainly dust. Then coming to the air sampling. So here many devices have been designed for the collection of bioaerosols, and the selection of appropriate sampling device depends upon many factors such as availability, cost, volume of air, mobility, sampling efficiency, environmental conditions. And the air sampling devices are basically of two types. One is the impactors and the second one is the impinger. The impactors are going to be the one which is going to collect the air particles which are hitting with the impact on a solid surface, which is somewhat soft and adhesive. And the variety of impactors are usually operated for the collection of bioaerosols are going to be the slit sampler, cascade impactor, hist trap, Ederson sampler, rotord, then vertical cylindrical trap and Burkhardt trap. So these are all the different types of impactors, variety of impactors that are used to collect the air samples. Then the second type is impinger. When an airborne microbial concentrations are high, sampling with an impactor can lead to overloading of the adhesive surface. So, an overcrowded petri dish is of no use in effective counting. So, then this impinger is large quantities of airborne particles can be collected and examined by the serial dilution technique. So, when the airborne contains the more number of particles, then this impactor is not going to be of use. So then what is the method that we are going to use? Is the impinger. So we are having the two types of impingers. One is the proton impinger and the second one is the pre-impinger. So these are the few types of things that it has, or what we call it as sampling devices, which are going to be used to collect the samples of air. Then the significance of microflora. So a number of plant, that means we are going to have certain significances of aeroflora. So where we are going to have getting the diseases, same time you're also going to have some sort of advantages. So here we are going to discuss mainly about the effects that we are getting because of this air flora. So the first one, a number of plant pathogens are transmitted through air. That means the atmosphere of the heavily infected fields like rust, smuts, powdery mildews contain a large number of spores of these pathogens, and through the air, these rust spores, smut spores, all will be travel and they will infect the healthy plant. So that's how the disease is going to be transmitted from one plant to the other. Then coming to the second, a number of human and animal diseases are transmitted through air. So that we know the TB is the best example. Influenza, the common cold, is also the best example. So here the tuberculosis, influenza, common cold, foot and mouth disease of cattle are transmitted through air-borne propagulas. They cause respiratory and skin diseases too. Then third point, airborne microorganisms are responsible for the spoilage of various food materials and biodeterioration of various materials like wood, cloth and leather. Then coming to the fourth point, airborne microorganisms along with other biological materials like pollen, hair, insect, scales, they are going to function as allergens, that means aeroallergens, and cause allergic diseases. Aeroallergens are going to induce the production of immunoglobulin E and immunoglobulin G, that is IgE antibody and IgG antibody. The fifth one, like industrial pollution of the atmosphere with unwanted and toxic chemicals, the microbial population of the air can occur due to some epidemics or routinely near the hospitals, unhygienic surroundings, and garbage dumps. The sanitation measures are going to be very important in controlling atmospheric pollution with harmful microbes. So this is going to be all about the microorganisms in air and their importance related to the environmental microbiology or applied microbiology. Thank you.